Here, we'll do the. This will be So this is Songs of Innocence.
Volcano's terrible.
This is Songs of Experience.
There's nothing wrong with Volcano, Chris. Thank you. Thank you. The hate emails and hate tweets will stop, I hope.
No, probably not, because there's always somebody new that's listening to the. We lost like 5 people. Where'd you go? Now it's down to 5 on. Evening from Scotland.
They want content. They want us to start.
Yeah, none of this random crap that we're doing. Okay, let's
exactly. Let's get the show on the road.
Yeah, so I'll blast you with the music again. All right, hello and welcome to the At You2 podcast. I don't even have any notes because that's how unofficial this one is. This is a B-side of a C-side or something. And I'm joined by Ian and Matt. Welcome to the show, Ian and Matt.
Howdy.
Hey, Chris.
Good. You're all working. Everything's working. Everybody can hear us. We're streaming to, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch at this time. And hopefully those are all working. Feel free to chat in the chat room. We actually have someone on YouTube. This is the first time he or she from Scotland has tuned in. So we know the YouTube chat is working now. Apologies if you were chatting in there before and it wasn't, and we just thought nobody was there. This is the internet when you don't pay for anything.
I was just going to say, we'll give them a refund when we're done.
Exactly. Your Cyber Monday coupon is in the mail. For next year. We just wanted. I was actually. Well, I said in our Slack, the U2 Slack chat thing that we have. I was like, I know we're going to do an official review of the album next week on the podcast, probably Wednesday or Thursday next week. But I was just kind of excited in that energy of like, there's a new U2 album and there's literally nobody around me that cares that much. My wife supports me in it, but like she's not anxious to listen. She's not anxious to debate and discuss. So I was just like, who's around that wants to talk? And Matt and Ian answered the call. So here we
volunteered. And I'll tell you a little story. I meant to listen last night, but I was kind of under the weather, and so I decided not to listen last night. And so I woke up. Actually, what woke me up this morning in the 7 o'clock hour was my wife in our bathroom blaring Songs of Experience through her phone or whatever she was listening to, and she was like all into it. So I was like, wow, okay.
Well, there you go. So that was your first Songs of Experience.
That was my first,
yes, etc. How about you, Ian? What was your first experience of Songs of Experience?
Downloading the bootleg last.
Oh,
week.
Ian.
It
Oh.
was worth it. No regrets. You know, okay, Ian.
I need like a buzzer shame sound effect of some sort. That's a boo.
Grr, arg.
Oh, that's as close as. Oh, here we go.
Oh.
There you go.
Well, no, I don't know if you probably didn't have a chance to listen yet, but Matt and I on the previous episodes that people are hearing now, or would have heard yesterday, maybe previewing the album, we severely mocked people in a good-hearted way, I think, for listening to the leaked.
We were both quite proud of ourselves for resisting the leak.
I guess that's really appropriate then.
Yep.
For people who listen to that.
It's the right thing to do after a leak.
Anyways, enough toilet humor.
Okay,
so here's the thing that is always hard when I saw Sherry, I hope she doesn't mind me admitting this, but I saw Sherry in the chat saying something about how she's had the album on repeat and slept with the album on repeat. And so like, if you're that hardcore, then maybe turn away from this episode, because Matt I think you said you listened to it once, right?
I literally finished listening to it an hour ago. So
right.
It's like very, very new, and still, yes, I'm still sorting things out.
I had a good focused hour listening to it this morning, and I've sort of been listening to it a couple times maybe since then. Ian, how about you? How many times have you listened to it, I guess, since the leak came out?
Like the whole album through probably at least 15 times in bits and pieces here and there, pretty much all week.
Nice. So for Matt and I guess, we'll be the ones who are like, the one that has that thing, and I can't remember It's got love in it.
Yes. Or lights.
Forgive us. Yeah, and sometimes. So, I guess in just quick review, I guess for Matt, we'll start with you, and then Ian can give us maybe a more in-depth thing. But like, just your gut response to the album after listening to it one time.
Well, I feel guilty like even being on because one listen just doesn't seem like enough for a U2 album. I think I generally like it. I think that it might be one or two songs too long. There's a couple songs like in my head there seem to be several songs where the chorus is like the whole, like a group sing-along chorus, and I'm just like, I've already heard this before. But I think I generally like most of it. But like I said, it's just one listen, and I still got to sort things out. And I have no idea what the names of certain songs are, and So yeah,
you have to work through the emotions of it.
Yes, and I had a really good listening experience. I had turned all the lights off. I actually laid down on the floor in my office. I had my good headphones on. I love a lot of the production on it. There's a lot of little tweaks here and there, and sound effects, and just unique kind of things that I'm not sure I'll hear if I'm just like sitting here at my desk listening on my computer speakers and all that sort of stuff. So I'm glad I listened on the headphones, and yeah.
All right, he went all.
Does that make any sense?
You went all digital there for a second, but we'll just assume you said you love Volcano, and
yes.
and there's lots of we joked about it in the last episode how lots of people were saying how they were going to be going driving for an hour to listen to the album, and so hopefully you all made it back safe. On your trip.
Yes.
Didn't get too into a song, didn't get too weren't crying too ugly, I guess. So you couldn't see the road. You pulled over if you needed to. No shame in crying about it, but just don't get into an accident. So Ian, how about you? What was your sort of first, if you can think back to whenever you leaked the album, listened to the leaked album, and your initial reaction, I guess, to having heard it?
First listen, I was very, very happy with how it turned out. There was a bit of me that wasn't entirely confident that the band still had it in them, and listening to this completely did away with that fear, and I'm pretty happy. I liked how the first song, rather than being another yeah, yeah, hey, yo, yo, or whatever chant they want to use to get the album going on the past few albums, it's just this nice atmospheric thing that sounds kind of like a cousin to something on Passengers, and it was a very different intro from what I'm kind of used to from U2 intros at this point, and I think it worked really well. I think the bridge to Love is Bigger Than Anything in Its Way is about the most U2-y thing they've ever done, and I mean that as a compliment. I'm very, very, very happy with how the album turned out, and yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think for me too was that feeling like you said of, do they have something in them that's worth doing? And Bono, they often refer to that, when they're promoting every album of some sort of variation on applying for the job again and all that kind of stuff. But I don't always feel like they've made that same effort. Don't send me hate mail either. But NGM2U in the chat room said, I heard people say that it's the best album since Achtung Baby. What's your view, guys? And that's, I think, just like gut reaction after one day of listening is I put it up there with Achtung Baby. Whether it's better or worse, it's hard to, who knows, and it doesn't really matter. But as a concept, as a whole, I think it's right up there in that top 3 right now for me. And I didn't feel that way after when No Line came out, and even Songs of Innocence, I wasn't sure about. I knew I liked it, but I didn't know if it was like top 5 albums from U2. So, because there's certainly the risk of loving anything U2 puts out and just there's the giddy emotion of like, there's a new album, who cares? I'm going to listen to it a whole bunch, regardless, however much it sucks. It's U2. But I don't have that feeling with this one. So, Domster says, glad to hear you think it's good since I pre-ordered it for my dad's birthday. Nice. So yeah, I think it's hard to go through each song but I like what you said, Ian, too, is the opening track of Love Is All We Have Left, where it is just like not trying to hook people in with some sort of guitar hook or big impact kind of song.
It would have been
Changes
easy
and
for them
stuff.
to make the Blackout the first song on the album, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that's like the the stomp your feet, rock and roll, or even American Soul, kind of has that same kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And when Ian said that, I agreed 100%. I think it's good that they started off with something more interesting than that. So
Yeah, it gives that. Well, there's a lot of. I love Bono, sort of gravelly voice Bono vocals in the front of the mix, talking over something, singing over something or whatever. And there is enough of those moments to make me happy in this album. And yeah, so it kind of just signals that this isn't going to be just. It's like they've given up the worry of we have to have a top radio hit. The business side of them still wants to go for some of that stuff, I'm sure, but just like this album it is what it is, and they're not ashamed to sort of mess around a bit with it, I guess. So I was worried when what's the One Republic guy, Ryan Tedder or whatever, seems like a nice guy, but just worried that it was going to be like a pop focused kind of thing, given how much his involvement was, and that's very little knowledge of him other than my son wanting to play the One Republic songs all the time. So
Yeah.
what's
The
pretty
vocal
remarkable
production.
to me, and I wonder if you guys agree or not, is, and I think this has even been said in some of the reviews that I've read, but for all the different producers they've had, it sounds like the album sounds pretty darn cohesive. It sounds, like, and I don't have the liner notes in front of me, so I don't know who was involved in which specific songs and all that sort of stuff, but it seems like there is maybe and flow and cohesion to the songs that you probably wouldn't expect with, what do they have, like 30 seconds? I think that is kind of remarkable to me, that just from that one listen, that it sounds like something that would have been done with maybe one or two producers.
yeah, that's certainly, I think, for me the impressive, I guess, like thematically, and then like in terms of the lyrics and stuff, but also yeah, musically, it sort of feels like there's more connection. I was saying to myself, saying I was recording my own podcast just before this, and said something to that effect of like there is a Songs of Innocence had a bit of a cohesive sort of theme to it, but it didn't feel like the songs were actually attached together in any sort of way. Whereas this one does actually feel like, I mean, there's obvious ones where it does literally run into the next song, but it does feel like there's more the theme runs through them all rather than a few that sort of getting tacked on. But I think Ian, you had said something to that effect about maybe, or you've alluded to a song or two that doesn't quite add up for you on the album. Are you willing to put your money where your mouth is on that one? Oh, Ian might be frozen. Everybody might be frozen. We'll see. Matt, are you back?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, maybe we just lost Ian.
Yeah, you were getting Skypey there for a minute with me.
Okay.
So
We'll dip into the chat room here. Anasaurus says it kind of feels like a story. It would have ended with, he would have ended with Book of Your Heart and not 13. Yeah, it's a curious, if you got the deluxe version, there's Book of Your Heart is a song that's included. And it's a curious that one isn't included. I guess, Matt, you said you felt like the album's maybe a bit too long. But, and Marie and Tad Lebo both say hi, hugs from Brazil. Maybe it's the same person. Somehow.
Sorry.
Ian, you had
Froze on my
mentioned,
end.
yeah, something happened there. We got a little blurb. You had mentioned something about how the song, there's maybe one or two songs that didn't like grab you on the album. Are you willing to name those songs and be known as?
It probably could have done without the showman. I'm kind of over Bono's self-deprecating songs where he's, and it was kind of funny on All Because of You. But by the time I got around to stand-up comedy, it's just, we know he could laugh at himself, and I'm not sure how necessary the song is. But the thing I like about the album is that it feels like it's the first album since Atomic Bomb where they feel confident in what they're doing. It doesn't feel like they're trying to figure out why they should be releasing an album. They just released an album and let that be the reason why it exists. And it feels like more open and more like just confident than they've been in a decade.
Yeah, that's what Bono has never struggled with confidence, that's for sure. But like even just as a marketing effort or something, I think because he's almost in a sense they've alluded to like health issues and health scare that he's had and up against the wall and arrested by this health scare and all that kind of stuff. And so he's in a sense, he's almost coming at it from the most humble place maybe that he's been lyrically and promotional wise or whatever. But I think The Showman is one of those songs that is going to be the love-hate thing on the album. It's got a very like, I can't quite place the style, like almost 60s call and response style in a sense or something. And just sonically a different sound for U2. And I mean, the fans, I think, an audience will eat it up when they do it live, because it is like Bono said many times, like a letter to the fans and the audience and kind of thing. And so I'm sure they'll play into that if and when they play it live. But any other songs for you, Matt, that sort of jump out from your one listen?
I think I liked The Showman just because that one sounds a little different. If I recall correctly, I may be confusing that one with Summer of Love, which I also think I liked.
Yeah.
Right. It's the ones that sound like non-traditional U2 that are sticking in my mind. Like I like 13 because that's non-traditional. I like the first song, whatever it was called again, Love Is All We Have Left. I'm terrible with song names. You're gonna make me turn my fan card in after this podcast, right?
No, we'll just do
we should just delete this whole thing
right now. Back in if we do our own callback to previous episodes of the podcast, there was a time when we did like try to stump you with playing little riffs from a song and getting you to name it. I think even back then, like episode 30 or whatever it was, and you probably were like, "That's the one with the what's it called with the name and the thing in it."
Yeah. So yeah, it's the ones that don't sound like traditional U2 that I literally one listen an hour ago am drawn to. And I do like, but Lights of Home, that's the second song, right? That that is traditional U2 sounding, but I really like that a lot.
What did you think of Red Flag Day?
I think I like that one a lot too.
It sounds like kind of war to me.
Yeah,
is that the one? Is that the one that we were debating? You guys were debating in Slack. Somebody said it sounds like Bruno Mars.
Yeah, I think Sula thought it maybe sounded. I think that's the one. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but there was one like some people were thinking it was kind of like an attempt to be poppy, brought modern kind of sound.
Yeah, I think I like that one.
Which is kind of playing off of what Ian said, like early '80s sound, is kind of looping back around again, anyways, and so it could be both, I guess, where they're trying to be current but also a callback. So
one of the things that I need to listen for, like I remember listening to Songs of Experience or Songs of Innocence the first 3 or 4 times in those, after it came out on that Tuesday, whatever it was. And I remember tweeting saying something like, I think Cedarwood Road is going to be just a monster live. And I got lucky and turned out to be right. And I want to listen again because it's like that's like one of the next steps is like, what are these going to sound like live, and which ones are going to translate well, and how many will they play, and all that sort of stuff. So that's one of the things I will be paying attention to in future listens.
Yeah, if they get rid of Cedarwood Road on the next leg of the tour, I could easily see Lights of Home taking over for it.
Yeah,
Just imagining like walking down the street towards lights and what they could do with the screen for that.
Yeah, I had made some notes and just when I was listening, but there's a slide guitar solo that kind of echoes Kite back to that, which is a song about his kids and stuff, or with his kids and that kind of thing. And I felt I'd written down, I can't remember now, like Matt, I can't place it in my head, but I'd written down that it was Edge's best riff yet, and not the solo necessarily, but just the song. And then that was before having heard the St. Peter's Strings version of it, which is a whole different, takes a song to a whole different level for me. And I mean, it hits all those like U2-y Streets Have No Name kind of like chills and emotion and stuff for sure. And I think that's where that version of it almost, I feel like could be, it adds like a sense of urgency with the strings they added, but also could be like the live version that it gets them close to a new Streets song in concert if they have that potential. I know Matt will argue forever and a day that nothing will come close to Streets, but and I tweeted that please don't tell me that the One Republic guy helped do that mix, and then of course I found out it was. So whatever.
I love when U2 uses strings. I love when they use piano usually. And I think I heard some piano in there on one or two of the songs. I
Yeah.
don't remember which ones. So
Yeah.
The mix of little things that give you away, going all the way back to
Yeah.
the first concerts that we heard, Joshua Tree, when we heard it, I was like, oh, I don't know about that piano intro into, like, they segue into everything and music, and the band builds in, and it's good. It was okay live, but it felt like the piano just felt empty almost. But the mix that's on the album, if you're basing it on what the live version that you maybe heard somewhere else along the way, I think the mix on the album is worlds better. And if that was the first time I'd heard Little Things, I would have been like, wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yep. Totally
And
agree.
Adam's way more there in it. And yeah. This is actually subtly an Adam album. Sorry, I'm cutting you off, Ian. Go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, I just want to say the Little Things edges, guitars in it are just beautiful. I mean, it almost sounds like something off a pop. It's so textured and so shimmery, and yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. The album version is light years ahead of the live version.
that's the edge I've been wanting to hear, not the edge from Blackout and from all the other songs where it's just that kind of grungy. I want the shimmer edge.
Yep, that silver area. Anyways, I'm gonna take off, but yeah, thanks
All
for
right.
chatting with me. I like
Yeah.
chatting about this stuff.
We'll have you back on again, Ian. Don't worry. We'll
Alrighty.
go for a
Catch
little
you
bit
later.
longer here on the. Everybody say bye to Ian. And in the chat, just where was I here? Beth May, Red Flag is a real war vibe and is completely irresistible. In the Slipstream said it, love Red Flag Day, reminds me of war also. Anasaurus, where are we here? Swiss Critter, Red Flag is my favorite as after 2 listens. Anybody else love Landlady? Just the name of the song, Landlady, puts like a weird vibe in my head that I cannot get over. And I know I will
Yes.
over time. And having it said in the chorus too and stuff is just like, it's a British or Irish, British, whatever, European thing, and North Americans, whatever, what I connect with that word is different, right? But it sticks in my head in a way that I can't quite get over yet. Sort of like stand-up comedy did almost, where it was like, why are they talking about stand-up comedy? It's, yeah. Anasaurus says, I love the little things on the album better. Live, it sounds sadder. And Adam is totally kicking ass. He just gets better, gets better with age. Gets better with each kimono he puts on, probably, too. That's probably a part of the thing. In the Slipstream is with you with the shimmer. And I think Beth May says, I think he's sort of going for land in the sense of groundedness, but I agree it comes off as weird. Yeah. So, yeah, there's lots of stuff to sort of dissect in this, and it isn't quite as maybe obvious as what Songs of Innocence was, in a sense, I guess. Doesn't come right out of, I don't know. Yeah. We're both riffing off of.
Yeah, I think we're both still figuring it out, which is what happens when you don't listen 15 times to the leak like Ian did. He's got it all figured out already. He's all on board. So
yeah,
that's.
So where after again first listen, we'll stop prefacing it, but like you didn't have like a gut reaction that was like ugh to anything, right? It wasn't like a where are they?
No,
going
not
with
at
this?
all. No. I definitely want to explore it more. What about you?
Yeah, that's I think for me too, and it feels like an album that I can actually put on, because it does have like sort of building and then falls down and builds again, in terms of energy and stuff like that. It feels like you can put it on in the background with people over and stuff in a way that even Songs of Innocence felt too like aggressive to sort of have in the background sometimes. But and maybe that has a bit to do with like I don't know what exactly. Anasaurus said, what do you guys think of the Haim riff in Lights of Home? That's what we were talking about in our Slack group too, is Haim is a band, 3 girls from, I want to say California, I think. Anyways, very
I'm too
popular
old
band.
to know who they are.
I only know them because other people tweet about them.
Okay.
And what I've listened to, they seem cool and interesting and doing unique stuff. And so they had, Sherry had posted that back in 2016 somewhere. There's a photo of them in the studio with U2, and it was kind of like, well, are they on the album, or is it just like they happen to be in the studio together or whatever? And so obviously they are on the album on Lights of Home, which is it?
Lights of Home.
Lights of Home on the strings version particularly. Yes. But actually they're referenced on both songs on the album. So I really like whatever they did. If they were Anasaurus, maybe you can help Matt and I if you know the Haim folks better than I do. Is U2 actually borrowing musically from them in terms of a riff or something, or is it they just sort of added musical help on the album?
I think I think I read somewhere that they were borrowing the riff, borrowing the like the bass line or something from their song. But again, I'm too old to know the song, so.
Exactly. I'm sure
there is one other point I want to make. Chris, your kids might not be old enough to be going through this right now, but with both my kids, I go through this. Like, so much of music today is like artist. It's it's by artist featuring three other artists, right? And that's how everything is. And so, like, for the last several years, when my kids are listening to their current pop music and stuff, I've always said to them, if U2 ever has a guest, they're never going to say featuring. They're never going to do that. That's not how U2 does things. It's a U2 song, and it's not And no, I am so relieved that it's not U2 featuring Kendrick Lamar and featuring Haim and featuring whoever, Lady Gaga. I'm just so glad that they made me right, that I don't have to deal with U2 featuring somebody. That's what happens when you're approaching 50 years old. It's these little things that really mean a lot to you.
Yeah, the little things that give you away. It is kind of fun. The curious addition with which they haven't had in a long time, I'm going to say, like having Kendrick Lamar sort of spoken word rap at the end of Into the Blackout out of Get Out of Your Own Way, right? Which one am I mixing up here?
Get
Out of Your Own Way, American Soul, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just that idea of like, I'm kind of like, I like it in terms of the song and what they did in the production and all that kind of stuff, but I wish there's a way to hear it on repeated listenings over and over, to have it just the songs instead of having that sort of like it kind of takes you out of it in a sense, but I don't know. You can go back and forth on that one, probably both ways. Just, it's the way they wanted the song to sound, obviously, because it's on the album permanently. So that's the way it is. And yeah, I don't know. Does that grab you in any particular way?
I mean, I just like, again, just from listening, I like the way that they did the bridge, and I think those two songs are stronger because he is bridging the two. I'm not sure that either one of them alone would be a really strong track, but when you combine the two with that message in the middle, I find that, for me at least, to be really effective.
Yeah. Anasaurus says the riff comes from My Song 5, which I'm assuming is the name of Haim's fifth song. We'll just play the old man card here and just profess ignorance. So, 13. So spoiler warning, I guess. I think it's in a sense, it's kind of a spoiler, because there's been a lot of sort of talk, maybe too much talk, about the callbacks to previous work on this album, and there's some fairly obvious ones where in the Blackout they have American Soul is the one that has the callback to Volcano, and the very obvious, like, the chorus is the chorus from Volcano, basically. But in 13,
Lights Go Home has the. Well, 13. Go ahead. I was
going to say that I just kind of like, it came out of nowhere for me that in 13 that there would be a song for. All of a sudden, I'm like hearing the chorus start up of Song for Someone, but my brain didn't clue into the fact that it was Song for Someone. I was like, I recognize that from somewhere, and where is it? And like, of course, as he sings, this is a song for someone. Like, oh, well, yeah, obviously. And it like hit me way more than I thought it would. Because I love that on Song for Someone, I love that song on Songs of Innocence, and so it's kind of cool to have it come back in a sense. So what were you going to say? The other ones?
And Lights Go Home. Lights Go Home has the lyrics from Iris, the Free Yourself to Be Yourself.
Oh, right. That's what. Yeah. See, I need to go back and
I think there's one other somewhere in there that I heard on that first listen that I'll need to hear again, that I'll need to listen to more closely. I think there's one other callback to Songs of Innocence besides the ones we just mentioned.
I think, well, and also I think I'm again going on rough memory here, but the bass line from Iris is maybe in there as well in 13. There's a bit of Adam even calling back to what he was doing or what the riff was in there. So, all sorts of stuff that's kind of fun to find and discover and see where they're going with it exactly, and how they'll translate that live. Like, are they going to just play Volcano in the midst of American Soul, or is it going to just be never play? Because I didn't really play Volcano anyways, but yeah. So, all right. Chat room, anything else before we sign off? We'll, the Slipstream says, I'm surprised that I don't mind the callback to Songs of Innocence songs. I thought I wouldn't like that. Yeah, it's one of those things where when I heard about it and thought about it, I was like, ooh, that might not. And then, yeah, hearing Volcano in there prompted a flurry of fun in the @YouTube chat.
Does it make you want to listen to both of the albums back to back? That's kind of where I think I'm headed. At some point here soon, I'm going to try to set aside like whatever it would be, 2 hours, and just try to do a back to back, because it kind of feels like these could have been released as a double album even.
Yeah, and maybe like, Bono kind of kept referencing how much Edge was like remixing and re-EQing or whatever, and that's why the album was delayed, which was a bit of a smokescreen. But it'd be interesting to hear what the version of this album was like that they sort of had in rough sketches form even back when Songs of Innocence came out. Because I mean, back then Bono obviously was talking about how they were going to do this in sort of this one, and then Songs of Experience, and then Songs of Ascent, and sort of see how it would have sounded back then. Just like the same way Actung changed in terms of what we heard in the stolen or whatever leaked bootlegs and things like that. So, but I doubt we'll ever know, unless someday they do a vault remix or release of stuff that someday. So, all right. I think that's enough for this episode, this quick episode. Anyways, we need more time to go listen to the episode, or listen to the podcast, listen to the album. Oh, brother. See, we should have stopped, just like the album in Matt's eyes, we should have stopped 2 minutes earlier. No. I actually, okay, just briefly, I think briefly, the one thing I love is all we have left. It's probably a good thing, because it left me wanting like one more minute. I felt like it was building, and I wanted like that big U2 kind of thing, and it kind of felt like it cut off too soon for me. But that's maybe again because it's the opening track. They kind of want to leave room for the album to go from there, take you to where they want to go, kind of thing. So I don't feel like it had too many tracks, though. I don't know how you.
Well,
I can't imagine being in the studio and trying to figure out, okay, we're going to cut this song that you've spent months of your life on or whatever, and be like, no, that's not going to make the cut. Anyways, in the Slipstream, thanks guys for doing this. You guys going to Montreal? I'm going to go to Montreal. I don't think Matt's going to Montreal. He's not crossing the border this time, and hoping to see some folks in Montreal. That feels like a lifetime away here, but it's only 5 months, I guess. So, all right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and watching wherever you happen to be. This is a podcast that we stream out live sometimes, usually Wednesday nights, Thursday afternoons, depending on schedules, and on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. You can follow @U2 on Twitter, twitter.com/ATU2 for notification when we go live, or sign up on any of those services and follow good stuff, associated stuff there to be notified automatically. And I'm iChris on Twitter. Matt is @MattMcGee. And Ian was, I think, @IanRyan, if I'm not mistaken.
Ian P. Ryan, I believe.
Ian P. Ryan. And goodstuff.fm/ATU2 is where you can subscribe to the podcast, the audio form of this program. So you don't have to see our faces, if that's a perk for you. All right. Thanks, everybody. And if I can find the music, I'm going to turn that on. Bye. You didn't like the
yeah, we didn't need the the I'm gonna let me hit refresh here, because everything's all like grainy and stuff. So I wonder if I need to do that. Give me a sec. Oh yeah, now it's perfectly clear. Because I couldn't read any of the chat. It was all pixelated
really?
and everything. So.
All right, I have to run, and
okay, dude.
I'll be putting this out later. Thanks everybody who happened to tune in live for this impromptu recording, and follow along. Hit the like button, follow, whatever, wherever you happen to be. And then we'll see you again. Thanks for tuning in the chat too, whoever you are, wherever you are. Bye.